In this guide, I'm going to be taking you through the third part of the second activity on the Connaught College scenario. So, reading from the scenario, it says for this particular part that the database should display the student details for a tutor group along with an overview of the issues raised for all the students in the group. Now, this is also going to take into account the third activity in the scenario, which allows you to click on a student name to display a more detailed overview of the issues raised for them. So I'm going to try and cover both of those in this guide. So first of all, what you're going to want to do is to create a new query because we're going to want to display all of the student details for the students in the tutor. So create a new query design and import the table students there. And you're going to want to have the learner ID, as all the details there, and the tutor ID. So select them all and then just drag them down to the bottom there. And you don't want to display the tutor ID because obviously that's already displayed if you look there at the top in that one. So we're going to want to go into the builder now, and this is the part where you can link to the text field in your login form if you've done that. But obviously, as I say, I'm going to use the temp variable that I created, which is username. Click OK there, and then we should be able to, if we just save it as query student details, if I say full, student details full, and then if I run that, as you can see, we've got all 7 of the students in that tutor group, and you've got all their details there. So what I'm going to do with that one, because I'm going to try and merge this in with activity 3, what I'm also going to do, back in design view of the query, if you show table, what I'm also going to do is add the issues as well for this in this query. So what I'm going to do is add the issue ID, and what I'm going to do is add totals, and where it says group by under issue ID, I'm going to create that as a count, and I'm just going to call it, if you type in issues colon, put a space in there, it lets you customize the actual name of that column, if you like, in the query. So now when I run it, as you can see, we've got issues there 1, but we've only got 1 student in the tutor group. Now to get around this, what the query has essentially done is it's taken the students, but only students which actually have issues. So what you want to do is you want to right click the relationship there, click on join properties, and you actually want to include all records from the students table. So just click that one there, click OK, and then when you save it and then run it, as you can see, you've got all 7, and it also displays students with issues and also those without issues. So if we just save that, and then if we close that query for now, what we're going to want to do is create a subform, just like we did with this one here, create a subform based on that query. So make sure it's selected there, and then just click on create, and then form design, and then what we want to do is property sheet, make sure the record source is then set to student details full there, or whatever you call it. Then you can close that, and then if you now then resize that there, what you're going to want to do is add a list box. You might need to use the drop down arrow there, select list box, and then just click anywhere on the form. And if you've selected the if you've done the property sheet, the record source correctly, you should get this 3rd bullet point there. Just click that one and click on next. You're going to want to use all of the available fields. Click next. This is where you're going to want to resize stuff. So if I just resize those, this can get a bit fiddly. I'll take you through how to do it from the actual property sheet as well, just in case this doesn't fit 100% to plan. Just call it whatever you want to call it. Finish. I'm just going to get rid of that name tag there because we don't really need that. Drag that up, and then if I just drag it and resize it so it takes up quite a lot of the page. The best thing to do is just view it in form view, and as you can see, it's cutting off some of the data. So if you go back in design view, and if you open up the property sheet for it, and on a format, I'm going to want to display column heads, yes, and then also you can edit the actual widths of the columns to make them suit the actual data you have. So if I just view that, as you can see, that spaced that out. You can play around with that, as I say, just change the widths of the heading. As you can see, issues has got far too wide. So you can play around with that using the column widths there. I'll leave you to do that, I won't bother with that. Now what I'm going to do is just resize that form like that, and leave space as well, because we're going to have a button underneath there in due course. Just save that form as form student details. And then, as I say, if you view that, you've then got all of the students in the tutor group, all of their details, and just the number of issues that they've got there. So what I'm going to do is, if I just close that one, same as we did in the very first guide, just go into Design View, and Form Student Details, all you're going to want to do is just click and drag that in. Just get rid of that title there, and I'm going to put it in the bottom here, make it a bit wider, and drag it a bit further down, so give it plenty of space. And then when you go into Form View, as you can see, you've got all of the students there, which you can select in the list box. So that displays all 7 of the students for that tutor group. Now, just going back to the scenario, it says to display the student details along with an overview of issues raised for all students. So you've covered the first part by displaying the student details, but we also want to display an overview of all of the issues, which is just a brief overview, not into too much detail. So what we'll do that one now. If you go into Create and Query Design, what we're going to want is the Students table and the Issues table once again. And as we did last time, just resize them quickly, like so. You're going to want to right-click, Join Properties, and you're going to want to include all records from Table Students, as we did before, so you should get that arrow like that. And then we are going to include the tutor ID, and once again go into the builder, and you can link again to the text fields you had in the login. I will use my temporary variable. Just OK that, and I'm going to untick that because I don't want to display the tutor ID in with this list box. What I do want to display though is the learner ID, and I also then want I'll have the issue date and the issue type, just so you get a brief overview of the issues there. I'll save that as query issue overview, and then when you go to run it, as you can see, you've got all of the learners there, issue date and the issue type. One thing I will do actually, in hindsight looking back, if I just get rid of that link, because in the scenario it says an overview of all the issues raised, so you don't necessarily want all the students in this one. It all depends what they ask you in the actual paper. So if you just get rid of that arrow, save it and then run it, as you can see you've got the learner ID, so only one issue in the tutor as the overview. If I just resize those like that, you can now save that and then close it. And what we're going to want to do is to create a new form design, making sure we go into property sheets, and in data, under record source, this time we're going to want query issue overview, or whatever you've called yours. And then if we just resize it, make it a bit bigger, and you're again going to want to select the list box. Just click on the drop down arrow there and select list box if it doesn't come up in this top bar there. So select list box, just click on the form, again clicking that third box, go to next. We're going to want all the fields, next again. You can just resize those as necessary. If I just make those a bit bigger, and go next, learner ID, call it what you want, just get rid of that text box there, and then if we drag that up to the top of the screen there, just make it a bit bigger. And now if we just resize that to the grid like so, when we go into form view, as you can see, you've got the learner ID, the issue date and the issue type. One thing I will do, which I do generally always do, is in property sheet under format, I like to show column headings. You don't have to show column headings, it's entirely up to you, and it depends, as I say, what they ask for in the exam. Just view that again. As you can see, we've got the learner ID, the issue date and the issue type. So I will just save that now as form issue overview, same as what I called the query. And if I just close that there, so as I say, same thing again. If you go into design view and form issue overview, if you just drag it across, drag it in, like so, get rid of the heading there, we don't really need that one. What I will do is if I just drag it down a bit, you will find that these probably do take up quite a lot of space on the form. So what I will do is I'll just drag that down like so, and then that leaves plenty of space in there for that one. So if you just save that one and then go to the form view, as you can see, you've got an overview there of the issues, just a brief overview, and then you've also got student details with the number of issues that those students have. So what you can do, as it says in activity number 3, it wants you to view issues for a particular student. So for that one, it says that you should be able to click on a student name, and it should then display a more detailed overview of the issues raised for them. So more detailed than what we've got up there, with just this brief little overview there. So to do that, what we're going to want to do is to create another query, and we're going to want the students table and the issues table once again. If I just resize those so you can see all the fields. And what we're going to want to do, instead of the tutor ID this time, we're going to want to do it by the learner ID. So in the criteria here, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to select the tutor form, which is that one there. And as you can see, we've got the form student details there. And what you're going to want to do is put another exclamation mark in there, square brackets, and you're going to want to, whatever you called that list box, that's what you're going to want to pop in there. If I just cancel that, because I'm not sure what I called it, or if I gave it a name, as I said, it's very important that you do give things a name. So if I just check in the student details, did I give it a name? I didn't give it a name there. So what you're going to want to do, just call that one learner ID. Just press enter there, and it also updates it for the the copy of that in the tutor form. So just close that. I would like to save the changes. And now if we go back into here, you should be able to go into the design tab, builder, and go back into the forms, all forms, the tutor form, student details, exclamation mark, square brackets, and we are going to want the learner ID. Just click OK there, and now what we're going to want is we're going to want to have the issue ID and the teacher ID. In fact, we're going to want to have all of these, and then just drag them down like that. The only one we don't want to be shown is, of course, the learner ID, so we just untick that one there. Now when we run this query, it's going to ask us to put in the student ID, the learner ID, because we haven't got anything selected in the tutor form yet. So you just cancel that. If you save that as query student issues, and then all I do is close that, and then if I now open up the tutor form, and if I say select James there with one issue, if I now open up query student issues, as you can see, we've got the issue ID there, the tutor ID is 4, and all the details relevant for that issue. So what we can do now is we can close that, save the changes, and we're going to want to create a form now based on that query. So if you go to create, go to form design, and if you just enlarge that like so, and then again we're going to use another list box, and don't forget as well that you're going to want to open up the property sheet and make sure that under data and record source you're going to want to select query student issues is what we called it. So if you can close that and go into the list box, click, and you can select the third point there. We're going to want to drag across all the available fields, go into next. Again, you can resize this here, but as I say, it's really a bit of trial and error when you actually get the form open and actually have the list box open as to how big things should be. We can call it issue ID or whatever you want to do. However, I will just get rid of that label. What I will do then is just drag that up into the top corner like so. Just bring it down a bit. And then I will enlarge it, so it's going to be a pretty big one, this one. And then just resize the form to the grid. And then if we go into form view, as you can see, it's not exactly looking fantastically laid out. I will just take you through. If we get back into design view, if you double click that, and I will just name it issue ID, so I've got everything named. Under format, I like to have column headers on, and then you can use these column widths there for each of the particular columns. You can put in there how wide you want them. I won't worry about that too much, but you will want to make sure they're wide enough to see all the data in the actual exam if you do choose to use list boxes. So I'll just call that form student issues, same as the query. And now if I just double check it, there you go, you've got all the headings, but as you can see they're slightly cut off. So you want to play around with the widths for that one. If you just close that, and then what I'm going to want to do is to put a button in this subform here, which allows me to link. So I can select the learner ID from there, click the button, and then open up the form there for the student issues. So what I will do, if I just close the tutor form, if I go into the student details form, and if I open it up in design view, if you click the button there and just click on there, if you go to form operations, open form, and then you select the form which we want, which is student issues. Click on next. You want open the form to show all records. Next again, I'll just put text and view student issues. Click on next again, and you can just click on finish. What I will do, I will just drag it up, resize it like that, just drag that back up to the grid. Then you can just drag it along, centralize it, arrange it however you like. Save that, and then go into form view. And now if we select a student on the tutor page, so just saving that and closing that, opening up the tutor page, you've got the button there, so selecting a learner or a student, whatever you want to call them, and then just click on the view student issues. As you can see, we've then got the issue for that particular student loaded up with the use of the button. So that covers activity 2 part 3 and also activity 3 on the scenario, because we've got an overview here of all the issues. You've got all the student details with the number of issues, and then you can click on view student issues to view the issues in more detail, which of course comes under activity 3. So if you find that useful, that's activity 2 part 3 and activity 3 there, getting student details and also viewing their issues.